Tom picked up an old, dusty novel from the second-hand bookstore down the street. He'd been searching for something to take his mind off the monotony of his daily routine. The book, with its worn-out cover and faded title, seemed like the perfect escape. That evening, he settled into his favorite armchair with a cup of tea and began reading. The story started with a man named Jack, who lived in a small town that sounded eerily similar to Tom's own. The more Tom read, the more he felt an unsettling familiarity with the character's life. Jack's routine, his favorite coffee shop, even the way he interacted with his neighbors, everything was an uncanny mirror of Tom's existence. As he turned the pages, Tom felt a growing sense of dread. Jack received a mysterious letter warning him of imminent danger, describing a shadowy figure that had been watching him for weeks. Tom's heartbeat quickened as he recalled a recent incident where he thought he saw someone lurking outside his window but dismissed it as paranoia. Determined to see how the story unfolded, Tom read on. Jack tried to go about his daily life, but the sense of being watched never left him. He started to notice odd things, a car that seemed to follow him, a stranger's gaze lingering too long. One night Jack found a note slipped under his door. "I'm closer than you think." Tom glanced around his living room, suddenly feeling exposed. He went to check his locks, making sure all the windows were secure. Returning to his chair, he hesitated before opening the book again, but curiosity and fear pushed him to continue. Jack began investigating, trying to uncover the identity of his stalker. He spoke to friends, retraced his steps, and even confronted a few suspicious individuals, but always hit dead ends. One evening, Jack discovered a hidden camera in his apartment, confirming his worst fears. Someone was watching his every move. Tom's breath caught in his throat. Could this be happening to him, too? He felt a chill run down his spine and decided to search his own apartment. He looked under tables, behind picture frames, and in all the nooks and crannies he could think of. To his relief, he found nothing. Returning to the book, he hoped for a resolution, an end to Jack's nightmare, but the story took a darker turn. Jack, driven by fear and desperation, decided to confront his stalker head-on. He set a trap, planning to catch the person in the act. One stormy night, Jack waited in the shadows of his apartment, a heavy flashlight in hand. The door creaked open, and a dark figure stepped inside. Jack leaped forward, but the intruder was faster, overpowering him. In the struggle, Jack caught a glimpse of the intruder's face. It was someone he knew. The novel described the figure with chilling accuracy, piercing blue eyes, a jagged scar on the left cheek, and a sinister smile that sent shivers down Tom's spine. Tom's hands trembled as he read the final pages. Jack's story ended abruptly, leaving his fate ambiguous. The book offered no closure, only a chilling sense of unfinished business. Tom closed the book, his mind racing. Was this a warning, a coincidence, or something more sinister? That night, Tom barely slept, jumping at every noise and shadow. The next morning, he went back to the bookstore to find out more about the novel. The owner, an elderly man with kind eyes, frowned when Tom described the book. "I don't recall ever seeing that book in my store," he said. "Are you sure you got it here?" Tom's heart sank. The novel was nowhere to be found. He left the bookstore with a deep sense of unease, feeling like the lines between fiction and reality were blurring. And as he walked home, he couldn't shake the feeling that someone, somewhere, was watching. Days turned into weeks, and the feeling of being watched grew stronger. Tom began noticing the same black sedan parked near his house, the same strangers appearing at different places he'd visited. He started receiving anonymous notes in his mailbox. "I'm closer than you think," they read, echoing the novel's ominous warning. One evening, as Tom was heading home, his phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. "Meet me at the old warehouse by the docks. You need to know the truth." Tom's hands shook as he read the message. Against his better judgment, he decided to go. He had to find out who was behind this and why his life seemed to be mirroring the novel so closely. Tom arrived at the warehouse, its windows broken and walls covered in graffiti. The air was thick with tension as he stepped inside, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. He moved cautiously, every creak of the floorboards making his heart race. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows. The figure stepped into the light, revealing piercing blue eyes and a jagged scar on the left cheek. Tom's blood ran cold. It was the same man described in the novel. Before Tom could react, the man spoke. "You should have never started reading that book, Tom." Tom's mind raced with questions, but before he could ask anything, the man pulled out a knife. Tom backed away, his heart pounding. The man smiled sinisterly. "Welcome to your own story, Tom. This is where it gets interesting." Tom's flashlight flickered, and the warehouse was plunged into darkness. In the pitch black, he heard the man's footsteps approaching, closer and closer. The sound of the knife being drawn echoed in the silence. "Tom," the man's voice whispered from the darkness, "the ending is up to you." Tom's breath hitched as he felt the cold steel against his throat. The cliffhanger ending hung over him, the uncertainty of his fate mirroring the unfinished story he had been reading.